Thank you for joining the Building and Sustaining Partnerships webinar. My name is Keisha Highsmith from the Health Resources and Services Administration, Maternal and Child Health Bureau. Today's webinar is one of a series of webinars that HRSA MCHB and Social Solutions International, Inc. will be hosting to discuss select topic areas that are addressed in the newly developed resource toolkit entitled A Comprehensive Community-Based Approach to Addressing Intimate Partner Violence and Perinatal Depression. Next. Today's moderator and guest speakers for the webinar are Kara Finley from Social Solutions International, Inc., and myself as moderator, and our two guest speakers, Dr. Amy Lynch, who's the Vice President of the Gender and Special Populations Division at Social Solutions International, Inc., and Shelby Weeks, who is the Project Director for North Carolina Healthy Start Baby Love Plus. Next. The objective of the webinar is to discuss strategies for building and sustaining partnerships to better address intimate partner violence and perinatal depression, discuss non-traditional partners and how they may help you better address intimate partner violence and perinatal depression. And then Shelby will share with us how North Carolina Healthy Start is utilizing unique community partnerships to help enhance their mission. Next. As I mentioned before, today's webinar is one of a series of webinars that will be discussing select topic areas from the resource toolkit entitled A Comprehensive Community-Based Approach to Addressing Intimate Partner Violence and Perinatal Depression. The goal of the toolkit is to provide a guide that is culturally and linguistically appropriate to support community-based programs with making the case for why it is important to address the intimate partner violence and perinatal depression intersection, and also assist communities in reducing stigma and provide strategies for building partnerships and increasing support from leadership to ultimately improve the health and safety of families experiencing intimate partner violence and perinatal depression. The toolkit is scheduled to be released this fall. Until then, we hope that you join us for the upcoming webinars and enjoy today's presentation. So at this time, I will turn it over to Kara Finley to introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Highsmith. And now we'll turn it over to Dr. Amy Lynch from Social Solutions International.
Thank you. We found it important to discuss with you partnerships from the ground up because oftentimes people think of partnerships but don't really know what that means. So we'll start by talking about understanding community partnerships. So community partnerships, as we see it, refers to a relationship between a community-based program and external stakeholders. This does not only count with people that you're already in some type of relationship with, but also potential stakeholders. And we're going to challenge you to think that more broadly than perhaps you might normally think that. Being a member of a partnership also involves having a shared responsibility. We don't see partners as just somebody that we contact every so often. This is a relationship where they give what they can, and they give it when they can, and they grow and support the relationship. And that's not just the partner that you have, but it's for you and your organization as well. It needs to be symbiotic. It also generates increased responsibility, accountability, and an increased share of financial resources. And so this partnership isn't a temporary linking between two organizations, but it's a relationship that in some ways continues to grow, which is why we're talking about what it generates and that these things will increase. Okay, next slide. The purpose of forming partnerships is, you'll see that what we are saying here is the importance of meeting families where they are. And we mean this in two ways, meeting families physically where they are at particular locations or sites, but also meeting them where they are in terms of what they're prepared to discuss or ready to receive help on. So forming partnerships with organizations such as the faith-based community, community centers, shelters of different types, and more will help you to reach an entirely new group of families who may be experiencing intimate partner violence and or perinatal depression. When you're forming these partnerships, from the family's perspective, this increases your credibility in the sense that you're demonstrating a tie into the community, and through that increased credibility, there's an increased buy-in from individuals as well. Next slide, please. One of the benefits of partnering that a lot of people often cite is just kind of increasing their network, and that's definitely a core benefit of partnering. But some of the benefits that we see that are specific to this issue are that by partnering with certain organizations, you can help achieve a mission of addressing intimate partner violence and perinatal depression together. We also see partnerships as allowing you to pool your resources. It's not that all of a sudden your money becomes somebody else's money. It's that in a world of limited resources, the more individuals working on problems or working to increase efficiency, the better. This also allows you to coordinate services. So if two organizations that hadn't previously spoken are doing screening for perinatal depression within the same month, that would be something that, had they been in contact with each other, they would know, hey, we could work together on this issue. It also allows people to share best practices and lessons learned, because partnerships aren't about always talking about the best part of the outcome of a project. It's about some of the challenges that we face as well, and the lessons that we learn. That's valuable information, even more so than people think of budgets and dollars and budgets. They can share lessons learned and prevent other people from making mistakes, or also sharing successes. We also think it's important to have partnerships in order to provide help in areas that another group is not as strong in. So if some group is great in grant writing, and that's something that your group is not as strong in, then you can bond with another organization and you'll be able to improve that area for yourself. In addition, cross-training staff, this is on the next slide, cross-training staff is an opportunity for you to hold trainings with multiple organizations there, so that your resources used for that training actually go further. And then hopefully there would be a relation with the other organization that would allow for the reverse as well. So if they were holding a training, your staff could get trained too. We also think that increasing and improving your referral network is one of the goals of all partnering and all networking, because everybody has pools of resources that they need and names, and this could be helpful for your organization. Collecting data is important, not only because so many times these days funders want to see data to back up the money that they're giving out, but it also helps to demonstrate needed and continued work. People say, I understand that you're providing these services, but how do we know that there's a population that needs them? Collecting data will allow for this. And lastly, the benefit of partnering is to build communities, not only among partnering groups, but also for the people that you serve, to see a relationship moving between organizations and not just among those being served. And it says developing organizational goals and infrastructure for partnerships. I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's important to have planning involved when you're discussing partnerships. So the next slide, I'd like to talk about what you need to do to plan. So instead of just deciding that you're going to have a partnership and you're not exactly sure what the benefit of this would be, it's good to create a vision and get leadership of your organization on board with a plan from the beginning. Because if you don't, you're going to be at risk of one group assuming that they know why the partnership's happening, and it might be completely out of line with what somebody else assumes. You also will want to discuss the importance and the benefits of a partnership. I actually would encourage you also to think through if there's any downsides to a possible partnership, just so that you've thought through all possible sides of this. We'd like you to think about obtaining staff buy-in and support. So if a partnership from the outside appears to staff to mean, first of all, a whole lot more work for them, you're going to want to figure out what the way is to discuss what the buy-in is for staff and why this is an important partnership, not just for the leadership of the organization, but for everybody involved. It's important to communicate, to listen, and to provide opportunities for feedback, as well as to get involved in the partnership planning process from as early as possible. And this will open up some involvement not only for the individuals in your group, but also think about opening it up for community involvement so that everybody is working together with the staff. And I also want to call your attention to section 1 of the toolkit, which is assessing readiness, and this will help you assess where you currently are as an organization and what level of support you already have from leadership and staff. As well as section 2, which is making the case, will help you discuss the importance of addressing intimate partner violence and perinatal depression and help you make your case for the need and benefit of forming partnerships. Next slide, please. Leveraging resources. We're in a day and age where we have to constantly be thinking about resources, and we need to think about using existing consortia to help build partnerships and infrastructure. We don't need to be using our resources to solely go beyond what we already have. Perhaps we need to use our existing consortium more efficiently. So smaller working groups within the consortium can be tasked to reach out and build new partnerships around this issue of IPV and PD, figuring out what the way is to get individuals discussing in small groups or plan smaller meetings so that there can be some activity and some effort being shown. And also using existing consortia will help support the overall vision, values, and goals and create strategic plans for developing partnerships around IPV-PD. Next slide, please. So creating a working group is something that we found important. So you should utilize tool 1, which is establishing an IPV-PD work group in order to help think this through. And what you're trying to flesh out here is what the organization is really trying to accomplish, not just your strict mission statement in some formalized words, but what is the organization trying to do in a few words? What do we need, and who will we need to be there? If you're thinking that the same 3 people, for instance, are always doing the work in a certain situation, perhaps we need to broaden that thinking or to involve different minds in that. And also, what will success look like, and how will we know that we've succeeded? So somebody sets a goal and they say, that's how I know I've succeeded. That's important, but at the same time, what are some plans for if you don't see that exact level of success? What are some backup plans for you? And we think that it also needs to be clarifying the vision for when your organization will need to convince staff or convince potential partners of the needs and benefits of the partnership. So ask yourself who needs to have the buy-in, as I had mentioned previously, what needs to happen to achieve that buy-in, and how you'll know if you've done that successfully. Next slide, please. Identifying non-traditional partners within the community. So when you're thinking about recruiting for partnerships and you get a group of your staff together, and if everybody comes up with the same 3 or 4 names or group names, then one thing you might want to do is have somebody with an alternative perspective come in or say, we know that these are our key partners, I agree, but let's think about people that we don't have on this list. Let's expand our minds on this. Because if you go broader and pursue the voice of consumers in the community who will be utilizing the services, you might find that you then need to determine the need, the barriers, the cultural ideals, and the opportunities to implement new initiatives. So for instance, consider reaching out to non-traditional partners, which in this sense we're defining as law enforcement. And when we say judicial systems, we mean the courts and the people who are liaisons in the courts, staff in the courts. Faith-based organizations, if you're not partnered with them, employers, those who tend to employ perhaps large portions of your population, or to be employers open for opportunities, as well as schools and daycares, where oftentimes not only clientele but the children of clientele would be involved in. We also think it's important to ensure key leadership is represented. So if you're talking to the schools or a school in a school district, keep in mind that school board members as well as other local leadership would be key to securing leadership buy-in, and then those in the schools are who is key to secure on-the-ground buy-in. If you're working with hospitals, leaders of the hospitals, if you're working in law enforcement, perhaps liaison units or individuals who are higher ranking, it's helpful to have involved. And on the next slide, we list some examples of non-traditional partners for you to think about. And your list might be well double this, or you might have only a few that you think are potential partners. But the point of putting this list together is to challenge you to think past your initial ideas of partners and see what would it mean to partner with these groups. And sometimes perhaps there's some reasons for you to be resistant to these groups, and that's healthy thinking when you're thinking about partnerships. But it also we would challenge you to consider using these groups because they oftentimes can provide unexpected results. So we'd like to highlight a program, the Des Moines Healthy Start. And DMHS, they had faced cultural and language barriers when they had a vast increase in different refugee populations in their area. And so what they did was they partnered with local leaders in many of the different populations. Remember, I had mentioned that leadership buy-in is important, and that also gives you increased credibility with the population. So these partnerships help DMHS better understand not only the languages and cultures of this group, which means understanding the norms and the stigmas that there might be and not going in there and coming off as culturally insensitive, but it also addressed some challenges in reaching families experiencing intimate partner violence and perinatal depression. Next slide, please. So who should the organization partner with? This is a bunch of questions that you ask your individual organizations. So which stakeholders have an interest in the partnership that your organization is planning? That's important for you to ask yourself as who has some value, finds value in your organization. And who might be willing to join the collaboration? Oftentimes in this world, as you very well know, everybody is overextended. But who has the time or the effort to be involved in your collaboration? And how will you make it as seamless as possible for that organization so it doesn't seem as burdensome? Are potential partners willing to share their resources and capacities? Are you as an organization willing to do that? This will assist you in demonstrating the buy-in for the organization. And how do the interests of each potential partner fit into the broader collaboration? So what are your organization's goals? What are your potential partners' goals? And then how does the collaboration, which is perhaps a unique or overlapping set of goals, how do you fit in when you think about that in terms of the collaboration? And lastly, does our organization trust and respect the work and staff of each potential partner? That is an important question to ask, and also to ask of your partner organizations to make sure that you're having relationships and partnerships that make sense for your group. For the second program, we'd like to highlight Mom's First Healthy Start is in Cuyahoga County near Cleveland, Ohio, and has been extremely successful in developing a referral care pathway, which streamlined the referral process with partnering organizations across the county. They had an issue where there was a very extreme wait time. So what they did with this referral care pathway was reduce the wait time for a woman who was screened positive for perinatal depression from 2 months to less than 2 weeks. And this clearly ensured that the woman is contacted and spoken to within 72 hours once she is screened positively, which has a drastically different outcome than a person who's contacted 2 months post-identification. So on the next slide, prevention through partnerships, that's what we're really pushing here. To remember that we're trying to forge strong partnerships with safety net programs, things that we think of that pick up when other pieces fall. Unemployment agencies, different types of shelters, food banks, anybody who provides resources that aren't always on hand for individuals. And then this focuses attention on the prevention of intimate partner violence and perinatal depression. Because when we think about partnerships and prevention, this also helps raise awareness and cross-promote each other's services. So if an unemployment agency is having events that discusses IPV and PD, and meanwhile the IPV PD group is being able to talk about the important services offered at the unemployment agency, this allows for the cross-promotion. Because remember, prevention of IPV and PD is the ultimate goal in this process. Next slide, please. When we talk about reaching out to partners and marketing opportunities, we want to think about how we can almost sell the cause or sell the issues to potential partners. Next slide, please. When you're thinking about reaching out, consider who it is that's doing the outreach. Nominate someone to reach out to a potential partner who is passionate about addressing intimate partner violence and perinatal depression. This person should know the topic well and be able to speak on it. This person should understand your organization as well as the mission and the values, because notice in those first 3 bullets, what we're talking about is a person who's going to be able to sell the issue, who's going to be able to get buy-in from potential partners, and also be able to understand how your organization works into the partnership. They also need to be able to understand and articulate how the partnership will be mutually beneficial. Again, tying into the importance of joint goals. Next slide, please. So in terms of the general steps, we have 6 steps we'd like to point out. The first one being to identify a point of contact in the potential partner organization and set up a meeting. This could be done via a phone call, it could be done via a letter, it could be done via email, it could be done through somebody saying, oh, I'd like to introduce you to this person, they'd like to set up a meeting with you, if you already know somebody who knows the individual that you would like to have a meeting with. And it's important to come prepared, do your homework. Research not only the individual in terms of their background, perhaps previous organizations they were with, but also the organization and what benefits you want to discuss that they have and your strengths. You also want to bring with you an outline of potential opportunities that you can collaborate on, perhaps upcoming events in the community that would be important for collaboration and partnering. Step 4 would be to state what you are looking for from the meeting. To not just say, hey, I'd like to have a meeting, but to say, I'd like to have a meeting to discuss ways that your organization and my organization can partner to have our resources make more of a benefit in the community or have a wider spread. Step 5 is to listen to the potential partner. Oftentimes we go into a meeting knowing what we want to hear, and then we're just listening for that and perhaps not hearing what is being said to us. So being an active listener is important when we're having meetings with potential partners. It also sets a great framework or a great foundation for a new partnership, that this is the type of active listening and participation that we are going to offer to your organization. Step 6 is to reach agreement and close the deal. What this means is not to put this all in some business perspective, but to really think about these opportunities as goal-oriented and as focused. So if you are going to take a particular course of action, get an agreed-upon commitment to that particular course of action. And also make sure that everybody is on the same page with general values, goals, and principles. They don't have to, it doesn't mean that your mission as individual organizations has to be exact. It means that you're coming together in a partnership, a new entity in a sense, and that entity's agreed values, goals, and principles line up. And a couple of tips. It's helpful to bring along information about your organization, about yourself, meaning business cards, fact sheets, sample reports you've done, or even advertisements of events that you've had that you're hoping next time to get their partnership with, so that they see right in front of them what it is your organization does, and it also shows that you came and want to really make it clear to them your benefits. And also consider completing a memorandum of understanding. A memorandum of understanding is a written document that declares what it is that you and the other organization agree to. It's not a legally binding document. It's saying that we agree to partner on such and such a grant application that's coming up. And so that then when somebody is applying for that grant, they can demonstrate that there is a prior standing agreement that this group is working with this other group. And that helps prove your partnerships as strong. Next slide, please. Building and sustaining partnerships. And the next slide, challenges and opportunities. These come with the territory. Anytime you're trying to not only create a partnership, but then make it stronger and keep it going. So organizations often suggest that the most difficult task is sustaining and building upon a partnership once it has been established. So people are excited at the beginning, they're interested in talking with each other, they're anticipating a lot of new events, and then they're kind of fizzle out. Well, if you do things like the Memorandum of Understanding, for instance, or to talk about having regular communication, that actually makes the challenges go down. Some of the key steps for the sustenance are to regularly communicate and have meetings with your partners. Nobody has time for weekly meetings necessarily, but we're talking about regular communication and get-togethers, even quarterly. Also, inviting partners to events that you're having and promoting them there, as well as perhaps the reverse. This will allow you to demonstrate that your relationship is ongoing. It's also important over time to update the goals for the partnership. If the initial goal of the partnership was to apply for and receive funding from an organization, and here we are a month after that grant application was due, now we need to talk about if the partnership is continuing and what the new goals are. And also be flexible to change. It's possible with change in leadership or just change in time, change in circumstance, change in political climate, that there's going to be changes in what your partnership needs and what your partnership will do. And also think about moving past just monetary support, because obviously that has a finite limit. Consider the fact that each other can offer technical assistance or trainings. I had mentioned co-training, inviting another group to come to a training that you're holding. And if you have resources that were used for other events that are left over and you can share them, water bottles, pedometers, things of this nature, that's something you can share that has value. And if you're partnering with a domestic violence shelter, consider joint staff trainings to make each other aware of the services, to know how your programs run and the needs of your population. Next slide, please. So key steps for sustaining the relationship are also involved recording statistics. Keep in mind, prior I had mentioned the importance of having data for funders and for grant applications. Keeping a record of different types of statistics will show that you have continued buy-in and continued value to the other organization and them for you as well. Also consider the importance of marketing the work done by the partners or by the partnership. And if you look at section 4, raising awareness on page 60, consider inviting unconventional partners such as grocery stores or coffee shops to help with events and marketing, because at events you're going to need, for instance, paper products or food and drink products. These organizations could be involved and become a new partner that you hadn't previously thought of. And as part of that, you could then go and talk to their staff, for instance, about IPV and PD. You never know when new opportunities will come. So find opportunities to share resources. This is very key. Next slide, please. So the characteristics of successful partnerships, it's important to think about that there needs to be a purpose, a process, and then there's progress. So if you have clear and common goals based on mutual benefits, then that will demonstrate that you're united in your goal. If then through the process and consulting stakeholders, everybody is clear on their roles and responsibilities and the understanding of what resources are needed, then we can lead to part 3, which is progress. This is continuous learning and adaptation. The partnership process is not necessarily always linear. Oftentimes things ebb and flow depending on a lot of different factors. But when you go into a partnership, if you have the goals that the partnership needs and you consider the goals that each individual brings to the table and their roles, that will lead you to less challenges and more positive outcomes. So lastly, I wanted to call your attention to 3 tools. One is the Community Toolbox, and the website is written right underneath the Community Toolbox. Next is the Office of Partnerships and Grant Services, which is an opportunity to do very nice grant searches on this website, and it helps put a lot of different grant opportunities together, which is nice, and they have some partnership opportunities as well. And then lastly, the Office of Partnerships and Grant Services at the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. Next, we will be hearing from Shelby Weeks from the North Carolina Healthy Start Baby Love Plus program. Shelby?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk about North Carolina Healthy Start Baby Love Plus's experience with partnerships and partnership building. Our program is under the umbrella of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services under the Division of Public Health. If you go to the next slide, please. The objectives during my talk are just to summarize what our program is doing, give a history of our state Title V partners and partnerships, outline our state Title V and Healthy Start Baby Love Plus's contribution to its partners, and then talk specifically about one example of a successful partnership, that is our Strengthening Systems of Care Family Violence Initiative. Next slide, please. This is a map, obviously, of our state of North Carolina. North Carolina in total has 4 Healthy Start projects. However, 3 of them are under the umbrella of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health. The project that's outlined, or the area that's outlined in the yellow, is the Eastern Baby Love Plus program. That's our oldest Healthy Start project. That was funded in 1997. The project outlined in green, that is our Northeastern Baby Love Plus program. That was funded initially as a planning grant in 1999, and then as an implementation grant along with our Triad project in the year 2000. The Triad project are the 2 counties outlined in red to the left on your screen. All 3 of these projects cover a total of 14 counties, with 12 of them being in rural sections of North Carolina. Next slide, please. Just wanted to give a brief profile of our 3 Healthy Start Baby Love Plus projects. As I indicated in the previous slide, they cover 14 counties, 12 of which are very rural, very resource-limited sections of the state. Across the 3 regions, poverty is definitely a concern and continues to be a concern. Unemployment and isolation are also challenges that our program participants encounter in terms of accessing services. There are limited health care resources in these areas of the state. Our participants need to rely mainly on our local health departments or our public health clinics to obtain services for themselves, their children, and other family members. Infant mortality rates in these areas are over 16 infants per 1,000 live births, particularly among our minority audiences, and those rates among minority women of childbearing age are 3 times the white rate in our state. Also, we have high rates of Medicaid deliveries in our state, and we also have a high prevalence of diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and other health disparities among the women accessing Healthy Start services. Next slide, please. This is just a pictorial depiction of how our Healthy Start funding comes to North Carolina, at least to the 3 projects that I'm responsible for. Obviously, we get the funding from HRSA, and it comes to our Department of Health and Human Services, and then it flows to our state Title V. And for us, our state Title V is called the North Carolina Division of Public Health. Then the monies and the administrative responsibilities flow to the Women's and Children's Health section and ultimately come to our Women's Health branch, which is where myself and our Healthy Start staff are located. Next slide, please. And then this is a representation of how our projects are split out in our Women's Health branch. Our umbrella program is called Baby Love Plus, and then we have 3 projects, Eastern, Northeastern, and Triad. Next slide, please. All right. Our state Title V has a very lengthy history of partnerships in terms of establishing and maintaining partnerships with various entities across our 100 counties that make up the state of North Carolina. These partnerships include collaborations with 86 health departments and multi-county health districts who provide health services to women, children, and families across our state. The Division of Public Health also works with community and regionally based coalitions that address infant mortality prevention and reduction efforts, domestic violence screening, referrals, service coordination and training, and health disparities, as well as other efforts. In addition, the Division of Public Health Women's Health Branch, where our Healthy Start projects and other preconception, perinatal, family planning, and reproductive programs are housed. These entities collaborate across our state Title V our Women's Health branch, and link with our other branches such as the Children and Youth branch, the Office of Minority Health and Health Disparities, Immunization branch, and others. Next slide, please. As mentioned by our previous speaker, Amy, we have in North Carolina traditional, non-traditional partnerships that we work with as well. One of those has been previously defined, which is faith-based organizations, but we have some exclusivity in North Carolina in terms of working with tribal organizations. We also work with community colleges, and we have quite a few historically black colleges and universities in our state. So we've forged and maintained partnerships with all of these entities. And just some examples that I've noted on this slide, our Healthy Start project has two efforts. One is called a Ministry of Health program, and that's where we work with faith-based organizations across all three of our Healthy Start Baby Love Plus projects. And then we have a partnership or an initiative called the Lay Health Advisors program, and that is an effort in which we train volunteers, barbers, beauticians, and other interested individuals from local communities in our three project regions on health and wellness efforts so that they can take that information back to the local communities and help us in terms of recruiting and engaging women and getting them connected to our local health departments where our Healthy Start projects are based. We also have a long-standing partnership with a tribal organization called the Halawassaponi Indian Tribe, which is based in our northeastern area of North Carolina. And that particular organization provides outreach and client recruitment. They do health education and training, and they help link pregnant and parenting women as well as their infants to local health departments, social services, and other resources in their communities. And we provide funding to them to support their efforts. Our health department, our state Title V staff, I should say, provide technical assistance and support to the Halawassaponi tribe, and they serve as leaders and presenters at presentations, and we support their annual community outreach efforts that they have in the Northeastern region every year. And finally, we have a partnership with the Preconception Health Peer Educator Training Program, and that's a cross-state effort in which we work with, I believe the total is about 9 historically black colleges and universities across our state, as well as the Federal Office of Minority Health and other partners to implement the training, in which we train college students who are interested in the issue of preconception health on the preconception toolkits that are out there now, and they help us in finding college-age students who become pregnant and need to get connected to the local health departments and other resources in their communities. Next slide, please. Some of our contributions as a state Title V in our Healthy Start Baby Love Plus program, we provide lots of resources to our partners through our partnerships and other collaborative efforts. Some of the things that we provide to them include technical assistance and training and subject matter experts, and that just means that we can at any time pull staff from our state Title V as well as our local health departments and other folks that have specific expertise in other areas related to intimate partner violence and other health care issues. We can pull them in to provide training to our key partners, whether it's for a staff training, whether it's for a coalition meeting or other effort. As available, we're able to provide funding to some of our partners to help aid in accomplishing a specific goal that both the state Title V, our Healthy Start, and that agency have in common. We are really good at providing resource guides and toolkits to our partners. We find it's a lot easier and more cost-effective if us as the state Title V, in partnership with the Healthy Start Baby Love Plus program, we have the resources that a lot of our partners do not necessarily have. So we're able to mass produce those resources, particularly taking advantage of our electronic resources, and we can produce that information, post it out on a website, and get that information out to our partners. And then finally, we're able to provide marketing materials and incentives, particularly to our faith-based and community-based organizations who a lot of times either don't have the resources or don't have a lot of resources to spend on purchasing those items that they're using in their communities. With us being the state Title V and our Healthy Start program linked into that state Title V, we're able to purchase those in bulk at a much reasonably lower price than our partners, and then we can get that information and those resources out to them. Next slide, please. Our Northeastern Healthy Start Baby Love Plus program was able to participate in a HRSA-funded effort in 2002 entitled the Strengthening Systems of Care to Address Family Violence During and Around the Time of Pregnancy. Our Healthy Start project, which comprises 5 counties, was able to connect with HRSA, connect with other subject matter experts to provide training, extensive training, technical assistance, and support to over 100 representatives from the 5-county area. We focused in this effort on a number of different areas, one being making sure that our Healthy Start regional consortium members were involved in this effort, since a number of our consortia representatives came from some of the same partnerships that needed to be trained. This effort allowed us to provide training to consortia and other members across this region. We were able to look at our linkages and enhance them, as well as enhance the coordination across service systems and systems of care. Our case management teams participated in this effort, and we were able, as a result, to develop and implement referral protocols to address screening for violence during and around the time of pregnancy. This task force ended up formulating as a result of this effort, and even today, this Northeastern Regional Domestic Violence Prevention Task Force continues to meet 4 times a year in the Northeastern region. And when our Healthy Start project has funds available, we're able to provide support to our 3 domestic violence programs in the Northeastern region to support outreach, marketing, domestic violence support groups, and case management services to the programs in the area. Next slide, please. Listed on this slide are the partners that were involved in the screening and training effort back in 2002 to 2005, and almost all of these entities are still involved with our Northeastern Baby Love Plus Regional Consortium, as well as our other 2 Healthy Starts, our Eastern and our Tribe projects. So we still have partnerships and work closely with the 5 local health departments in the Northeast, as well as the other health departments in the other counties. We work with administrators from the health departments, as well as other community and faith-based organizations. We work with providers. We work and have a close collaboration with the School of Social Work at East Carolina University. Our law enforcement officials, we have really good relationships with them. As I indicated earlier, we're still working with our domestic violence shelters and counseling agencies. In the northeastern part of North Carolina, we have 2 male involvement organizations that provide services to fathers and male partners in that area, so we're still working closely with them. We also were able to involve and continue to work with male partners. Our consortium members, we have strong collaborations with our consortium members, and as I indicated earlier, we have a Ministry of Health effort which involves our faith-based partners. So we still have strong collaborations and are building upon those collaborations with clergy. Next slide, please. Our state Title V is invested in our efforts to work with women, children, and families across the state. And our Healthy Start project, in collaboration with our state Title V, is committed to the belief that our communities guided by our consumers, local leaders, and organizations from various representations and constituency groups. They know their communities best. They know their needs better than we do as the state Title V and as the Healthy Start projects. So the onus is on us as the state Title V and as the Healthy Start projects to go to those communities, and they give us the information. They give us the feedback on how, in collaboration with them, that they can best design and implement services in their communities that best meet the needs of women and children, women of childbearing age, infants, and families in each of their communities. So we have done, I think, a really great job of making sure that we're in tune to the needs of our community and our programs and efforts reflect their needs. Thank you so much. My contact information is on the final slide.
Thank you so much, Shelby and Dr. Lynch. Information for the speakers that you heard today, and please be on the lookout throughout the summer for the upcoming webinars and this fall 2012 for the release of the toolkit. Thank you so much.